Question: This is not a black show, or would this be considered a black show?
This would be considered a black show.
All right.
In my
This show,
mind.
but I'm saying like I have another show, Abbott Elementary.
Yeah.
I feel like
Is that a black show, or is it a show created by a black person who has black leads?
I think it's a black show.
I think that's got to be a black show.
It's a black show.
Nah,
It has.
I don't think it's a black show.
Why not? Because
I
the
think
two white
it's-
characters. There's only two of them.
I think for me, I would classify it as a black show too because they're teaching black students. They're in a black community as well.
Exactly.
And I feel like if that factor was gone, I might be like, maybe not a black show necessarily, but with that factor being added in and, with them kind of being conscious about knowing they're teaching black kids, that's what makes it a black show to me, I think.
Same. And the majority of the characters, the central characters, are all black. So the supporting characters that are white, which there's two of them, and they don't detract from the show because they're very well aware of themselves even within that space. So I would still call it a black show. Why wouldn't you call it a black show?
I love the show. I'll say this. Let's call a spade a spade. It's basically a ripoff of The Office to me.
You think so? I don't think
like
The Office was
the
as
whole,
funny.
the whole format, the format with the
format, yes.
the
But we've seen a
mockumentary-
lot
I
of
don't want to say a ripoff. It was influenced by The Office. I won't say
Well, yeah.
ripoff. It's
The
definitely different.
Well, I feel like a
style
lot
of
of
film, I
a
think
lot of TV and video
they
now
do
are
that.
just kind
It's
of
true.
taking formats from other formats.
You know,
But I
we
still-
got
I
one
don't
in
know.
chamber that's a mockumentary style that we still got to produce.
I still feel like
Yeah.
Yeah, I still got that script tucked away. As a matter of fact,
I don't know.
Yeah,
I still feel like it's not a black show to me. It's like the I don't know.
It's a tough one.
It's just the feel of it sometimes. Like I feel like I feel like because it's on network television, it's like catering to because a lot of like more I'm gonna say a lot more white people watch the show more than like other shows like the Mispat show that I mentioned before. So it's like I feel like those jokes catered. You have to be more in a safe line, and you can't be 100% authentic.
Well, that's how I felt about Blackish.
That's what I'm gonna say
Same.
too. Blackish
did
too.
too.
Because
I felt-
the statistics do say more white people watch it, but it's still to me a black show.
I couldn't really
Even if
relate
there's
to
certain
Blackish as
characteristics.
much. I feel like I could relate more to Bernie Mac show
Yeah.
because they were still authentically black within the space.
And I don't want to say it's whitewash, but it seemed like they didn't go over those. It seemed like we don't want to step on any toes. We're stepping on any toes to make sure we don't get canceled or get any backlash or anything like that.
Well, I feel like with Abbott, it's an every person's show. You could swap those characters out easily and tweak the story, but not so much. It's not like the Heights.
Yeah.
Like you can't just swap those people out with some white people. Like, the show won't work. It would be like, okay, they're going to bring their culture in. But I think with Abbott Elementary, especially with the education people that work in the educational system,
understand.
They can understand it. Like,
Exactly.
it doesn't matter if you're white or black. I get that. Low on money, or we got that BS principal who is,
Right.
even though she has she brings her seasoning to that character. It's still a relatable character.
Yeah.
To
Okay,
every person.
so it's you articulated that beautiful for me. So that's why I wouldn't put it as a black show because you can swap those characters with a white person. So kind of
And it'll
like
still be the same story.
yeah, and it still be like the same story. So like with Black Panther, for example, you can't because of like the culture behind Black Panther, he has to be a black person. You know what I mean? He can't be like a white. You know, he made a joke with that on Abbott Elementary on the Halloween episode when the white boy came as Black Panther and said Wakanda forever, and she said Wakanda for today. Yeah,
That was weak.
yeah.
But you know what though? I still think it's a black show, and I will say this because you have certain things that would only happen in a black environment, like Jacob getting roasted by his students all the time. Like, not to say that couldn't happen, but it's not going to happen the same way.
I guess for
as it
me
would in a
too,
black
like
show.
when you go to a predominantly black public school, like that feeling is there in that show for
Exactly.
me. Like
Yeah. The
I
step
remember
shows and-
being in elementary school, everybody looked like me. I get to college, that ain't the case.
Right.
But I remember,
Right.
everybody looked like me, and it had that same feeling, of maybe roasting the teacher and you shouldn't be roasting the teacher, or maybe the white kid did come dressed up in a black
you
something, and you're like,
Barbara, the old church mother.
Yeah, there was the church teacher.
There's like those are certain things that stand out.
I would argue Barbara couldn't be played by anybody else.
It's true. And I ain't gonna hold you. What's her name? Sheminti. She's one of my favorites too. But they do that very well, and I think it is what makes it unique is it's suitable for prime time television where a wide variety of audiences can relate, but it is still very Black. Those moments, Wakanda for the day, we understood that, know. So I do think you have those little quips that are in there that still make it culturally relevant. But that's just me.
Yeah. No, I feel. I think it's like. Well, let me put this term out there. Do you think that the show is a safe Black show?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what we feel.
That's what we talk about. Yeah.
Is that it's safe.
But
I don't look at it as a Black show. I just look at it as a show.
Right, but I think that's the job that is done. It's made you feel as I was saying, like it made you feel as if like you can swap those people out. But in reality, if you did, the show would change. Like if you was to pluck that school out of a inner city environment and put it in the suburbs and put white people in those, it would be a different show.
Yeah,
you would even have a different audience.
It's true. It's part of a larger argument too, because you do have a lot. There's an argument right now. Maybe this is another particular episode topic, but there are the creatives who don't like our art being funneled as Black shows or Black films. They just want it to be seen as a film. And then you got people who are for it being, under this umbrella of Black shows and Black films.
Right.
So I do think there's room for both. There's room for the safe Black show. There's room for those who are a little more risque.
Does LaQuinta consider her show to be Black? Have you heard her come out and say like, I'm glad that they're giving us a platform, or is it just?
I don't think she has to say it. I think it just is, and I think you see it in the writing. You see it in the proof is in the pudding. You see who the cast and crew is. You see who it centers around. So I think she says it without saying it.
So can we do the same thing to get the exact same results? Why do we feel sometimes that we have to say like, oh, I'm a Black filmmaker or I'm a Black this, instead of it being like how you said the flip side of that coin is I'm just a person out here making my art. You either like it or you don't.
I mean, it depends on, I think, the filmmaker. There's some of us that are more risque, and then there's some of us that, it is just like I'm a filmmaker. I would say that I am probably on the, I would probably be on the risque side. I am a little bit, I would say, probably revolutionized, where it's like, I want you to know this is all Black cast and crew. This is, Black this, because I want to encourage Black people, into filmmaking. I want to say that, I want to put our stories out here. I want to support you, and it's nothing against white people. It's just I want to support Black people in this field because we're just not as, big in this field as maybe, other races in the field. So that's just kind of, I've seen other filmmakers who happen to be Black and they're just regular filmmakers, and that's great too. Like, I don't think there's a right or a wrong way to do it. Right. I think it's just who you are and what you prefer.
I would agree.
How do you feel about
it? I feel like we should, say, yo, I'm a Black filmmaker. I feel like we have to do that because, like, how we've been getting treated. Like the actress, I can't believe I can't think of her name right now. That's what I've been thinking the whole time. Why you guys are like kind of talking. But the actress played Barbara. Like, why is she now just
Shirley
getting
Ralph?
Shirley Ralph? Why is Shirley Ralph now just getting an Emmy? In 2024,
same
she should
thing
have
with
been.
Angela Bassett. I mean, so many of our
Yeah.
greats go overlooked by mainstream, but and for me that
Jamie Lee Curtis.
That is the
No, really.
Like, I mean, I get it, but I don't. You know what I mean?
I mean, even like Will Smith, we know that there were certain performances that he could have been gotten an Oscar for.
True.
Regina Hall?
So many of our greats, I think, get overlooked, and I think that is the
Regina King, or
there's two of them. Well, you talking about Regina Hall, or Regina King?
Regina Hall.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Who played? She was in a scary movie.
Yeah.
She's been in quite a few.
She is a very.
But Regina King did win something, didn't she? Academy Award.
Has she gotten an Academy?
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Now, don't get me lying.
I thought she did.
If she did, she deserved it.
I'll say that. It's just there's so few of us that I'm like, did I miss that?
But that's the importance of us having our own umbrella of Black culture, because we need our greats to know, regardless of what the Academy got to say, you are still our icon. You are still our EGOTs and our winners. So for me, that's why it's important for us to have our own and that umbrella of Blackness, because we acknowledge and fully embrace that, even when nobody else does. Great conversation.
I would say we could go on, but go ahead. I know you. What time is it? 12:34.
It's cool. We good. Y'all got anything to add before we?
Well, yeah, do Black movies next time, because literally at my New Year's Eve party, I made a tier chart, and we're gonna be ranking Black movies.
Please.
And well, we do it at my house. We usually do like a tier chart, and we have discussions about different things on there.
Talk about
but there's a Black movie
one next time if y'all ain't seen that yet.
I ain't seen this.
No, I haven't seen it.
You said it's called The Piano Lesson?
The Piano Lesson.
I'm gonna watch it tonight.
And then can we please talk about it when you watch it? Because I would love to hear some of your thoughts. First of all, the cinematography. And one thing I gotta say that I love about John David Washington, and I don't know if this is particularly his doing, but in a couple of films that I've noticed that he's in, the one with was it Malcolm and Marie or whatever the one?
I think I know you're talking about.
I don't like that.
That's me.
But I will say this: I while the movie may have had its moments, I love the way that they will take one location. It's like, 1-2 locations, and they will maximize how to use its locations in the shots, and it's beautifully executed. And I think the same can be applied to The Piano Lesson. It's not a whole lot of different locations, but the way they move the scenes and move the conversations is very well done. The shots, beautiful. So please watch that.
Yeah. You're gonna love it. That's on my list now. But I was going back watching like Black movies I hadn't seen before. I watched New Jack City. I had never seen that.
Oh,
that was great.
Sit your
ass down. I saw that and I busted out laughing. There was just so many that I was watching. I was like, oh, this is great. Like, and then there was some I was like, oh, I don't know why this is popular. I watched what was this called, Paid in Full, and I was like, I expected more out of this. I'm not gonna lie.
If I may ask,
1998.
Oh, okay.
You didn't like Paid in Full?
If I would put it on my tier ranker, it's on C or D, because it's not. I'm not saying it's like a bad movie, but I expected more out of it, and I just didn't get everything that I wanted. That I feel like other Black movies, I get out of it. I'm interested to hear what like other people say, and I felt the same way about Menace to Society. Right, it's a step up, but it was like I don't know if there was a full story. You guys will probably hate me, but I was the same way about Waiting to Exhale. I was like, when is something going to happen? Oh, this is it.
Oh yeah, I can't. I think that's more like Black female movie right there. Waiting to Exhale. I feel like more Black. I haven't watched it like that. Like I probably watched it when I was a kid with my mom.
Never watched it.
I don't know if you guys would even like it, to be honest, because it centers on them getting in relationships, usually with Black men who are terrible, quite frankly, and they make bad decisions. Some of them in the movie, and there was no overarching story. It was just like it was almost like I would call it a slice of life. Like you're seeing every day, almost like dating with them, and some of them, it's not even dating. Some of them was with married men, and you're like, you're wondering why this isn't working, but I would say the only Angela Bassett's story was the only one that I kind of liked, and I felt like it should have been just her movie. And the other three ladies, they didn't capture me.
Interesting. See, because one of the cultural staple iconic moments of that film is Gloria's character, which I actually got to play this in a play, so it was fun. When she was like, "Oh, it's just a little something, just some collard greens, cornbread."
Yeah, no, that part is funny, but it's just her overall story. I just didn't.
Well, but she was the one that did find a healthy love in the long term. But no, I do understand what you're saying. In my mind, it centers around these 4 friends and their friendship, how they support each other in their individual relationships, but then all of it brings them back to what that safety center is, which is their friendship. And I think that's a larger conversation that can be explored later, because I think for Black women, we do tend to get, tend to find our home base and our center in our girlfriends and that sister circle. So I think that's really more so what it touches on. But I do know what you mean. Like those parts kind of feel disjointed.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But my last question, because
Yeah.
I put it as a black movie, but then my mom was like, "You got that as a black movie? It ain't no black movie. White Chicks. Is it a black movie?"
Yeah.
I said it was, but she's like, "That is not a black movie."
I wouldn't call it a black movie though.
You would call it a black
I wouldn't call it a black film. Now I will say I love White Chicks. It's a great film, but the whole story is around them blending into this rich white environment.
Which is a black story. Because as black people, we got to find ourselves to try to blend in. We can't change our skin tone, but we have to culturally code switch to be more blunt.
But that's the thing; they're code switching, and they're not being authentically themselves, which lends itself to the humor. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The movie's called White Chicks.
Okay, that can't be the only reason why.
But no,
they're playing white characters.
But okay, so there's a movie that came out in the 80s that's called Soul Man. Y'all familiar with
Yes.
that? Okay, so the story behind that is that this guy wants to go to college, so to speak, white guy, and he found a loophole. He
found like a loophole. If he was black, essentially he'll get
he could get like a grant or something like that. So he takes some pills and he becomes a black person. Like, but
they put him in blackface.
Yeah, they put him in blackface.
Oh.
And so, would that be considered a black film or not? Because it's talking about the culture of like what we get, the benefits that we get.
What's the cast? What's the cast like? Is it majority white cast or the main cast? The main cast.
So it was a mixture a little bit because he was getting attention, obviously, from black people because we thought, even though he didn't look like us, that he was, you know. You got to look up the picture of how he looked. But we thought, this is a black person. We talked to a black person, but you also see kind of him being white and, his other side a little bit.
Right.
I wouldn't call it necessarily a black movie because there's a flagrant foul on the play for me. The blackface is crazy.
Yeah.
It is.
But for White Chicks, I guess the reason I felt like it was because there was just certain moments where you just like, you got these two goofy black dudes working on a case. You got them trying to pretend to be white when they're not. And I know some of us would probably make some of the same mistakes that they made if we were trying to pretend to actually be white. And then on top of that, you got the coon character. We probably all know certain characters that might be like a Terry Crews, where it's this is supposed to be an all white party.
Negro, please.
I don't know.
But all their friends were white. The environment was white, so that they were trying to blend into.
But that's a black story, though.
I get what you're saying.
Yes.
Just would it be my personal classification? Probably not.
Okay, I'm surprised.
But
really, I put it on there without thinking. And I was like, that ain't a black movie. I'm like,
but I can see the argument for it. I really can.
Yeah, I still wouldn't put it as a black movie. But it's my reason gonna sound dumb, but it sounds dumb when you say it, but it has some truth behind it a little bit. Like,
What's the reason?
I think it's cause like it's more glorified by more white folks to me, especially with the song that's in there too. But I feel like from the outside looking in, I feel like white folks probably gravitate towards that more. Like, I feel like how we feel about A Living Color for the Wayans, white folks probably feel that about White Chicks for the Wayans. You know what I mean?
But then where does that put Scary Movie series? Because that was right down the middle. That wasn't
right.
All black or all white. But we
right.
consider that as the black culture. Like, that's our
maybe you.
Oh,
I
don't know if I consider
I like the
that.
first two.
You don't consider that to
But
be
I think that's a great
I know
topic
it's more of a I
itself,
don't know.
is
Like, I
what
really think about
how
it.
do we classify what is considered under the genre of black?
Now hold on, because now I'm gonna bring it close to home. B3C, right? If I was to make that movie, would y'all consider that to be a black film? Or would you just be like, you know what, Bernard, you just made a movie. That's not.
So I would consider
who's in the movie.
The same. No, everything being the same. I'm talking about specifically Scary Movie.
It's a spoof movie.
The spoof movies, yeah.
But the cast is mostly white.
Okay, compared to the one that came before that, though.
I get that.
I wrote it.
I get that.
But compared to the one that came before that, Don't Be a Menace. to scary movie. So Don't Be a Menace would be considered
a black.
That's a black movie.
Yeah.
But it seemed like Scary Movie was like, okay, this is a good idea. Yeah, it's a crossover.
Yeah. Okay, crossover. Yeah. Okay.
I think also them having it stolen,
that too,
also is what pulls it away a little bit. I mean, they've gotten it back now, so I don't know, in the
future.
Who
celebrate? All the black people. We like, yes, finally, our black people got it back.
Yeah, but I feel like it's too late. Like, we got it back, but
I mean, it's just it's too late for them to have a comeback.
Because
everybody else
they did other spoof movies. He did.
We can still like.
It's just a name though. It's kind of like, you bring back what's a reboot, like what's one Point Place or something like that. Just name a reboot, like any reboot that has a name to it. Anything that has a name to it, you just bring it back because of that nostalgia. You can sell tickets, so you can do the same thing with Scary Movie. But he did, was it a haunted house or whatever the haunted movies? He did a couple of those.
He's done a couple spoof movies. There was
over the years.
There was the one that made fun of 50 Shades of Black. That too.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, like, it's not. Did we go out to go see it like that? Like how we saw Scary? Does it get the same revenue that Scary Movie got? You know what I mean?
I don't know if it did or not, but
I think people getting tired of reboots and all that.
I am.
Oh,
we are.
Yeah.
We are.
So that's why I feel like it's too late. Like, you got it now, but like you can put out a Scary Movie, but you gonna have that trailer gonna have to be top tier to get people excited to go see it again.
Yeah.
The story's gonna have to really be there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I have high hopes. I'll say that because of nostalgia's sake.
Facts.
Looking back, I'm like, they didn't have no misses for real.
That is a really great question, though, that you pose about what do we consider a black? Is it just a black creator? Does it have to have a certain number of black cast? Does it have to be centered around black people? Does it have to include black? What all has to be? Is it just the person who's writing it or directing has to be black?
So would you consider Get Out black film?
Yes.
Yep.
Absolutely.
The story was there, definitely. But even if it was a white person that made that, it would still be considered a black film. Like Color Purple.
What about Django?
I have it on the list.
Really?
I have it on the list. It's literally like I have it on the list for the like black movie stuff. So I kind of considered it.
It is. It's a black romance story.
I could see the case for that in either way. So I'm like split in the middle on films like Django, films that have white creators but that are telling black stories. I'm split.
Really?
I'm a little split on that. I see it.
If it's not,
either way.
To me, I guess if it's done well, it's not offensive. It's not having that like I would say then stereotypes or something that's just like flagrant. I can be like, this is a white person that came to tell a black story and they did well with it. So yeah, you can come be a part of your movie. Can be a part of the culture. I don't know about you, but your movie can.
Yeah.
I got to do research on you.
Yeah, the cookout is closed.
Wow. Well, I mean, like, because even when you bring up the whole thing about cookout, that's almost saying like, yeah, you can leave your dish here for us to eat.
No. You can't leave your dish here. We will bring you a plate home. we'll send you a plate.
But they can cook though. They cook. It's like like Color Purple. They cook.
Now at any black function, the first question is who made that?
Yes.
I like the we'll give you a plate because it reminds me like we're giving you your flowers. Thank you for this.
Yeah.
I like that analogy. Like we'll give you a plate.
Well, we'll send you a plate home.
Okay.
But the space is us. We need those spaces.
So then let me ask you this question: if we were to celebrate those dishes or celebrate those films, is it just for us to only bring in the actors and never to bring in the director who may be white, or bring in the writer who may be
I don't
white?
think it's saying that necessarily.
I feel like the cookout is just because we know some
What is the
people
cookout?
have. I think for black people, at least the way I've always seen it, maybe I'm different. I always pictured it as like our safe space where we're gathering, we're like nourishing each other and stuff like that. And because people are so quick sometimes to invite people, and you're like, I don't know why you invited this person. Like they said the N-word many times. Just because it's okay for you to do that, it's not safe for some of us. I think that's why sometimes we get a little bit about who is coming to our safe space.
And even if we don't, even if they are pleasant and polite and that's okay. But I still think there has to be that space for us to just be. And oftentimes when we are in those shared spaces, we do have to be mindful of our language. We do have to be mindful about code switching. And there's just always that kind of, making sure that your I's are dotted, your T's are crossed, you're doing certain things a certain way, versus when it's just us, we can fully just relax in that authentic space of it just being us. And we need that. And I do think that lends itself to another thing about the importance of gatekeeping culture. Okay. Especially, but I saw a thread post the other day. It was like, I actually miss the days when AAVE seemed like it was beneath white people. Yeah. Because everything is so co-opted, and now to a point where our culture and our quips and things are taken and then essentially sold back to us. Yeah. So I'm in favor of gatekeeping.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. I miss the days when we can talk amongst each other and white folks won't know what we talking about. Now it's like they can tell me stuff better than stuff now. I'm like, oh my gosh. I miss those days. I ain't gonna lie. Gatekeep, but it's not like a racist thing or nothing like that. It's just having your own, just having your own.
Well, I also hate when it's almost like some of them get gentrified. Like what was done to woke is crazy. It's like a slur now, and it really shouldn't even be that. And I feel like there's other things where, especially with my generation, where now instead of African American vernacular, they're like, oh, it's just Gen Z words. And it's like, no, it's not a Gen Z word. Right, it's like AVE. And it's not even just it turns into, it goes from words to, oh, now this is our dance. Hey, you crip walking in the suburbs, buddy. Like, no, that's a no. Don't do that.
Exactly. I'm listening. Just let
I feel like that's probably an episode. Right?
Break that up into two.
You can just
because I mean it to me it's something that's close to my heart, because it's like I'm looking at this from the perspective of like what I call the third side of the coin. I don't believe there's two sides of the coin. I always believe there's the third side that touches both sides, and that's where I reside at. And it's like, I hear the argument on this side, but then I'm leaning over and I'm like, but I see this over here. But I'm like, if we were able to kind of bring it closer together with understanding and respect of one another and the culture without overstepping our boundaries, then I feel like that we could benefit even more. Like I hear some people trying to try to get into Hollywood because they're like, that's where the money is for my ideas. They're like, if I try to take this story to the Black community, it's not going to get made. They really feel like that.
Like within our own community or just like outside of our community?
This question.
Yeah.
When was the last time you seen a Black Star Wars? When was the last time you seen a Black Harry Potter?
Well, hopefully there's one coming.
Right. Yeah. And again, we say hopefully, but it's like,
well, I know it's an artist and he had his thing option. So that's why I'm like, I think they're about to, but to answer your question, like as of right now, no. But
right. So it's like looking back, but looking forward, it's like, they've done had their time, and they seem to have gotten their money from the same pot, which is Hollywood. And it's like,
but it's not. Let's just to be clear, the reason that we haven't had those stories told is not because the writing, the talent, the desire isn't there. It's because of racism. We have been fundamentally kept out and kept out of a lot of those opportunities. And as Black community, we don't necessarily have the same amount of resources that our white counterparts do to just easily make that happen. So I do think that presents that challenge for us. I think there's certainly options now as technology has become what it is.
Right.
So that's expanded. But historically, no, I don't think we have.
Right. We haven't.
There's a recent transition to where now we've got more power back in the hands of the creator and the artist. But I don't think that that's been the case for a long time.
It hasn't. I would say it's never been.
It's very case. Right. It's so when we talk about the why, that hasn't happened, it's not because of us. It's not because the talent and the desire isn't there, but the resources have to be there too.
I think we also have to call on some of our bigger, already made it Black people to also lift as they climb and help some of the smaller folks down there and tell some of those stories. I don't think that sometimes they don't always do as much as they can. You know, some do. I think that, you know, what some of the more recent ones, like a Ava DuVernay and Issa Rae have done, you know, their part. But I don't think some of the other ones, like we were talking about Tyler Perry, it's not always evident that, you know, he's doing that, where it's like, hey, buddy, you need a writer's room. Maybe you could be going to certain places and recruiting some writers to help you out with all of these series. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're still going to be Tyler Perry. You're still going to be this excellent, you know, I did all of this. Having a writer's room for a couple of your shows, maybe not even all of them, wouldn't hurt you.
Right.
I don't know. I feel like really, if you like how you mentioned about if there's a black Harry Potter or a black Star Wars, I feel like if you're a filmmaker, you really want to make that film, you'll find a way to get that done, even if the effects are trash. It has to do with the story. Is your story good?
The effects.
Well, if people do it, I'll say that. But
we can watch CW shows and they get 6-7 seasons and the effects is not the best. Yeah.
I'll say this: people can do it sometimes, but people sometimes won't watch because they'll be like, "Oh, well, this is trash." Because look how they did the fireworks in this or something like that. I mean, Tubi's kind of a great example. There are some stuff on Tubi that are made, and it does sometimes be like, "Oh, they could have did better here." But you know what? I'm glad you made the movie. I'm glad you put it out there for people to watch.
Yeah, but it's on Tubi, so it's like you gonna, you know, so you gonna have that expectation. You know, it's not gonna be a blockbuster movie. You know what I mean?
Well, some people don't know that though. We're in the industry per se. Some people really think that the Tubi is like the Netflix, and they're like, "Why would Tubi make a movie?" Where I'm like, I have to explain, like, "Hey, it's kind of sometimes people like me that's making it and putting it there." And they're like, "Oh, I didn't know." Like, I thought Tubi themselves paid thousands and millions of dollars to make this movie, and it turned out like this. I'm like, no, that's not.
You can tell, like they'll let you know, like when it's there. Tubi original.
Yeah.
So,
and you got to explain that to the people who's not in it, because they're sitting here thinking like, oh, they didn't make this.
Right. In which I hate the whole term Tubi movie, like with it being associated with bad black content only, and it's like, no, like there's a lot of great black content that's on there that's professionally done, that looks great, that has wonderful stories or whatever. Like I spent this last week watching a ton of like black Christmas movies. I was like, I'm gonna sit down on purpose, and I got hooked. I was like, you know what, this ain't as bad as I thought, you know, that it was going to be, but I really enjoyed them, and it left me feeling like, you know what, I want to make me a black Christmas movie, and I want to put it on Tubi, you know. But again, back to your point about story. We need to branch out. Like there's more to us than, like you said, we're not a monolith where everything has to be drama. It got to be a hood, and it got to be like I'm waiting to see, and maybe waiting on me to see that out of this world story, or like, you know, African mythos type of, instead of being like always an England castle, and you know, just that whole backdrop. It's like I want something that's in Africa, you know, or even
we have those stories. We gotta make them, because there's so many books like that, and maybe it's a thing of we gotta go to the author and be like, let us make it.
Facts. And I know there's one that's coming out.
That's the one I was talking about. That's the one I was talking about. That was being optioned. That's being.
I think it's been greenlit. So
okay.
It's being adapted into a film.
Yeah. Okay. Because the last I had heard, I knew it was being optioned, but I didn't know if there was like.
It's been greenlit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's good. Who's pushing that?
I don't know who's pushing it, but I know the author has come out and said that it is being turned into a film.
Okay. It's a great story. If you're a reader, like I recommend that book. Well, it's multiple books, but the first one.
That's good. I hope that, you know, in the future, in 2025 and beyond, like really that we have like more diverse stories that are being told and explored and stuff. And I want to see us. I want to see people from our circle, you know, break through that glass ceiling and get to that next level.
Facts.
There's another one I'm reading, and it's with like a black male, and he has like, it kind of talks a little bit about like hoodoo, but he has like those powers, and that's really cool too. I've enjoyed that, and
I would love to know that book.
It's I think it's called Blood at the Root. I'm gonna get that title to you, but
please.
I like that one, and I like to, you know, I had seen recently, you know, black women, you know, doing magic, and I was like, there's one with a black man. Like I want to read that. Like I'm glad that I'm seeing that, and you know. He did come from, I'll say, like, humble beginnings, like but it's not a hood story. And he goes to a HBCU after that, and he's kind of, going a little bit into his soft era. And I liked it.
I want to read
it was
that
really
ASAP.
good.
And since we're all here, and I've told this to you, but I want to put this in the ether to you too also, because I would love for all of our hands and heads to touch this thing. I'm so glad that you mentioned Live in Color, because I've been kicking around the idea for a minute about a live Black comedy sketch show that we produce here locally. And I've got so many different skit ideas with like reoccurring characters like Wanda, like Fire Marshal Bill, like Homie the Clown, but in these different scenarios. Yeah. But I would love for us to come and put it together. But I've been toying around with, do I want the format to be like a live action sitcom like In Living Color was, or would it be something like the Dave Chappelle show where he engages the audience, but then you see the pre-recorded so something like that. But that's been on my ether.
I feel like either way, we got the resources to do it.
We do.
I would love for us all to come together and
I
do
will
that.
Also, to piggyback on that, every Tuesday night at 6 o'clock from 6 to 8, they have a free sketch writing class at Improv Cincinnati.
Word.
And I go. I've been going.
Can you send me
it's being
information?
ran by a black person.
Really? I would love to attend. If you could please send me those details.
Definitely will. Yes,
I appreciate that.
And I've been telling them, I was like, I got some people who are like, I know they're writers and stuff. I just got to get a chance to be able to stop and just invite them, tell them people to come out, because it's just like me, the other black guy, and it's like white guy. And then it's like, I think the last 2 weeks ago was 2 other white people that showed up, but they're also people who just do improv already there. So Cincinnati Improv got like a bunch of classes and rehearsals that goes on, but this one is free. So you can just show up and you bring your writing pad or your laptop, and he gives you prompts. You can shop your idea around, like like, what do you think about this or whatever. So this guy, he's from New York, black guy from New York. He's worked out there in the industry and everything, young guy, and he's moved here and he's doing his thing here too. So
I'm there.
Cool.
Sure. Yep. I'll make sure I'll send it to you personally,
please,
of course, but then also put it in the B3C group.
Please. And are we already connected? Because if not,
I don't know if we are, but I'll get your information.
Can we please? Okay. Blood at the root. Yep, that's all.
And there's a second one that's coming out in 2025.
Okay.
Nice.
That's perfect.
Cool. Can we hit record? Let me hit stop.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We've been talking.
We had another
episode today.
Golly.
It was good to see y'all though.
Oh yeah.